what a turn around in the market today. If you look at the market, the large cap moved up, small cap moved up. Pharma did extremely well. That's one sector which we have been kept talking about, that one sector continues to be a dark horse and can do extremely well. So today, before I start my webinar, because someone suggested last time that we have compared crude versus market, why don't you compare crude versus rupee? And we thought, let's do that. And I would request everyone, if you think that you would like to know one trend which makes sense for others to also look at it, we'll be more than happy to do that. So please give us a suggestion, advice, and we will do that. But before I start this webinar, and in fact, I must tell you that I have a very interesting trend today. Like one trend is basically, should you sell shares once you get the allotment and the IPO, or you should wait even post-listing also there is a gain? How in last one decade, how much equity gave returns, how much gold gave, and how much silver gave returns. That gives an idea how you should allocate. Having said that, I'll come to that little later, but that's one. Then there is another analysis that I'm going to come in front of you, is that what is happening to the inventory level with the automobile companies. I'm also going to discuss about the credit card spending that with the, and these are things I'm going to discuss with you. But before that, I begin my webinar. There is a very famous and my favorite slide about disclaimer. So this webinar is only for an education purpose. Whenever you invest in the equity market, it does carry a little higher amount of risk. Investment in the markets are subject to market risk, and past performance is no indicator of future returns. So as a bonus, today I'm going to discuss about 7 trends. Impact of crude on the rupee, how Indian rupee perform and other currencies perform versus the dollar in last 1 year. The inventory levels are rising for the automobile companies and how it is rising. What has been the trend in credit card spend? How in equity versus gold and silver perform? Rainfall update, and then of course the food grain production. These are all linked to each other. So let me start with the impact of crude on the rupee. And this is completely based on our investors' feedback. In fact, I'm happy to tell you that last week we did crude versus Nifty, and almost similar kind of analysis been done by one of the business channel a couple of days back. So we are happy that the business channels are also looking at what we are presenting on this webinar, and then they are basically making something similar online for the larger audience. So I think that's where we can take some credit. Now, before I tell you what happens to the rupee and dollar, crude and rupee, it's very critical to understand what has been the trend in the crude oil import. We were actually importing somewhere in FY 2000, that's the beginning of the new decade, 164 million metric tons. This is the average. And it kept on increasing to 227. If you look at this trend, it looks very, very sharp kind of a jump. Then came COVID, the demand came down, and it has gone up again. But if you look at the last 5 years, that is 220 to 233, this last 5 years, our crude imports are growing less than the nominal GDP. If you look at the CAGR, it would be near about 1.2, 1.3%. from 220 to 233. Now, there are a couple of reasons. Of course, it's not that our production of India's crude oil production has gone up and the quarter has come down. I think one basic reason is that ethanol blending program is really helping to reduce the import of crude. Number one. Number two, I think the alternate energy source is also helping to reduce the demand for the crude. So that's what has happened, this one. Now with this, keeping this fact in mind, let's look at what happened to the crude and the Indian rupee dollar rate. We have make a base of this. Last 10 years I've done that. Last one decade, September 2013 till September 2023. If you look at this trend, the crude went down, am I right? Was there an impact on the rupee? Did rupee came down against the dollar? The answer is no. Here we saw major cracks. Is that rupee dollar rate? Answer is no. But over a longer period of time, both are very similar to each other. Am I right? So one thing is very clear cut. While crude oil can impact rupee dollar rate, but that's not the only reason why rupee will move up or move down. That's not the only reason. There are other factors also we must take into consideration and look at it. Over the last few years, yes, the rupee seems to be more stable against the dollar. Previously, the rupee depreciation used to be somewhere in the region of 5 to 6% on an average annually. And that has really come down to maybe 2 to 3% kind of stuff. Now, this is despite the crude again moving up. If you look at how the Indian currency perform versus the dollar and how other currencies of the world perform against the dollar, last 1 year, rupee is down by only 2%. This is despite the fact that Fed hike rate of interest very significantly. Normally, when the Fed hike rate of interest, there is a possibility that crude should have, the Indian rupee should have declined. It has not. It's just minus 2%. Against someone like Russia, 39%, Pakistan, 19%, South Africa, 6%, Japan, 3%, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, some other countries like South Korea, Brazil, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, they have gained against the dollar in last 1 year. So the point I wish to convey is that, number one, crude going up not necessarily will depreciate the rupee against the dollar. At the same time, crude falling down not necessarily is going to appreciate the rupee against the dollar. There are major other factors that come into play to impact the crude and the rupee dollar rate. But the good thing is that India is not among the worst performing currency. Okay, there are many other currencies like China is almost similar, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, South Africa. They are, I think, among the worst performing against the dollar. If you remember, in the beginning of January 2023, I had predicted, and I am proving wrong, I must tell you that also, that rupee should be, by December 2023, it should be below 80 rupees. But that has not happened. We still have 3 more months to go. Till now, the data suggests that probability is very high that I will go wrong. But we'll wait and watch. But there is no, so this is, I think India is not among the worst performing currencies. So I think, let me put that in a perspective that, yes, Britain actually did extremely well against them because there was a reason they declined also substantially, if you remember that. And euro also declined substantially against the dollar. But now there seems to be gaining some strength. Automobile inventory levels. If I rewind, in March 2022, I wanted to buy a car. And there were no cars available. I wanted one particular color, I never got that particular color. and ultimately I had bought a car with the compromised color, this one. And look at the situation, and that at those time, because of chip shortage and things, new models coming in, there was actually a seller's market, and there was no discount being offered to me, to be very frank with you. And today we are looking at a situation where inventory level, and this data I have taken from FADA, in January 2023, there was 34 days inventory. This is the number of days. Okay, I have not mentioned that one, there's a number of days. Okay, which has increased to 36 days inventory level, 30, 40, 43, 47, 50 and 60 days. It's constantly increasing. That means number of vehicles at the dealer level. How many days it will take to clear the inventory at the dealer's level, not at the manufacturer level. It is constantly rising. This is for the four-wheeler. For two-wheelers, it was declining from 26 to 13 days, and again now started inching up. What does this mean? It indicates that the demand for automobile is little slowing down. If you go to the dealer now, there is a high probability that you will get discount from the dealer. Previously, if the waiting period was high, it has started reducing for some of the most in demand vehicles. So this is the trend that, and if you remember, the second half of FY 2023 was extremely good numbers for the automobile industry. There is a high probability that this second half of FY 2024 may not be as good as what it was there in the second half of FY 2023. The base effect will come in, and due to that, the first half that we saw very robust demand growth for the automobile company may not be there in the second half, especially on the four-wheeler side. So this is what the data. But if you look at the dealers' expectation on month about the growth, it's increasing purely because of the festive season. So for example, in the month of July, there was a 42% respondent saying that there will be growth, which increased to 60% in the month of August, and which further increased to 71% for the month of September. So this is for the month of September. At the end of the August, what was their outlook? They expect 71% expected that growth would be there in the month of September. So it's 1 month in advance. In the month of June, July expectation. In the month of July, August expectation. In the month of August, September expectation. If you happen to listen to each and every one commentary, everyone is saying that they are expecting very robust demand for the auto. But we need to wait and watch how successful that is and how much it happens in reality. Because the inventory levels, as you can see, is higher, and I think that's not something very happy sign. So that's the trend in the automobile. Last week we had a news that India's net financial saving has come down to 5.1% of the GDP, many years low. And if you look at the data which has been presented by RBI, very beautifully done that. How personal loans are on a rise. Credit card spend is also on the rise. Now there are two ways to look at it. One is that since people are spending money through credit card, those who are see positive things, they will say people are confident that they can repay the credit card spend, and that's why it's on the rise. Someone who's little pessimistic would say, since people want to consume, they don't have the money, and they've been forced to spend money on the credit card. Otherwise, why would someone would spend money on the credit card? Both the side of the argument. If you ask my personal opinion, I hate to spend money on credit card unless and until it is a necessity. Having said that, I must have spent more money through credit card in last 12 months as compared to the previous 12 months. That's also I agree with you. So I normally try to spend money through credit card only when it's a high ticket item. Otherwise, I don't prefer to spend money to buy a small thing. Even the refilling of the card, I don't prefer to do it through the credit card. I would rather use my debit card to spend that. But this is my personal opinion. But if you look at it, the more and more people are using now credit card. The number of credit cards in circulation, this is in million, the numbers, it's on a constant rise. Now, not only the number of credit cards are in rise, but amount spent on the credit card is also on the upside. If you look at it, we are at the highest level, that is August 2000, highest level of 2023. So not only number of cards are going up, even the amount spent per car is going up. My personal opinion, there has to be higher delinquency rate going forward. When that happens, I don't know. Whether it happens in 3 months, whether it happens in 6 months. Because normally when you spend through credit card, there is a revolving credit, like you pay, what is it called? EMI पे भरो, ऐसा कुछ होता है ना, वो 5% you pay and then you pay that. I think it's a nice step for the borrower, those who are spending money on credit card. Credit card would force you to spend more than, it's a psychological thing, will force you to spend more than what you have. And I sincerely request everyone, first thing, try to spend as little as possible on the credit card. And I was reading one article in one of the business newspaper that how people are able to spend money on credit card and getting a lot of freebies. For to do that, you need to be extremely very, very financially, learning was very, very sound. I would not spend a single rupee if that rupee is not in my bank account on the through credit card. Why? Because the moment you do that, that means you are living on credit, actually credit. And in the entry से that मेरा पैसा आ जाएगा मैं दे दूंगा, नहीं आया, the credit card charge an exorbitant rate of interest, which is not in your interest. There is a panel interest and there is an interest and so on and so forth. I would never ever do that. So I think this trend is not very healthy, I must tell you, of spending money through credit card. And my request to all of you is that do not spend credit card on a small ticket item. The big ticket item, yes, you can spend because you can get some points also, provided you have the money in your bank account. Otherwise, don't do that. But despite the number of credit cards are increasing, amount spent per credit card is increasing, India's debt to GDP is not rising. And I think that's what we should be looking at it. It was 89, which was into COVID year, and then it's declining to 84%. So I don't think that's a reason to be little worried as we speak. This question kept coming to me again and again, how much I should allocate to the gold, how much I should allocate to the silver. So what I did actually, I looked at the last 10 years. If you have invested in gold, silver, this is the rate I've taken for gold and silver is Mumbai rate. and the Nifty, and the rate I've taken is average rate for the full year, because I don't want to take highest and lowest, doesn't make sense. Now assume that 10 years back you invested in Nifty 50. That value would have been 305. 100 would have become 305. The same 100 would have become 174.8 for gold and 107% for silver. What does it clearly gives? Nifty outperform versus gold. Gold outperform versus silver. In fact, on the contrary, silver has gone nowhere in last 10 years. So that's the reality. Now there could be a law of average that can kick in and silver can start doing well. Now this is for last 10 years. The moment I put it for last 15 years, the gold will would have outperformed the Nifty. So gold would have taken number 1 position, Nifty would have become number 2, and number 3 would have become silver. So sometimes, the starting value, I must admit here, starting value also makes a difference, which assets class looks very good. But the reality is that, so that's why what I did, I look at year on year now. Which is the best assets class year on year? In FY 2023, the gold did extremely well. That was the only assets which closed in the green, while silver and Nifty 50 were in decline. But the previous FY 2022, Nifty did well. What we call Nifty 50 again did well. In FY 2000, gold did well. Again, Nifty 50. Again, 50-50. Again, Nifty 50. Then gold did relatively better. Why? Because fall is less. This is 14 and 15. Nifty 50 did well. So one is the point to point. But even if you look at the year wise also, I think equity did very well. And that's one of the reasons I always say, take out your emergency funds. The money you don't need for next 3 to 5 years, 85% should go into equity, and balanced 15% between gold and silver. That's what you should be looking at it. So my suggestion would be, and of course gold and silver both are commodity. The law of average clearly says that silver has to somewhere bounce back. So yes, it has underperformed very significantly over the last 10 years or so. It cannot sustain at such a low level for a longer period of time. Now rainfall, we are almost on the last leg of southwest monsoon. The deficit continues to remain at 6%, which was the last week also. You can see many green, few places blue and dark blue, and some places red, which are in certain pockets that you can see. There's a cluster that you can see more of a red kind of a stuff. And overall it's 6%. But I was looking at some data. See, India has received lower monsoon on many occasions. So what happens to the India's food grain production, oil seeds, and so on and so forth? I was also looking, I have not put this data in my slide, but I was also looking at whether the yield per acreage has gone up or not. And I'm happy to inform you that the yield per acreage in India has gone up. Now it's very, very critical. Why I'm saying so? It's very, very critical because more and more countries want to be self-reliant when it comes to the food production. Because the way the things are shifting in the geopolitical side, if you are not self-sufficient in your food grain, there is high that you may basically be forced to buy at the higher price, impacting your deficits and so on and so forth. So what happens to the food grain production over the years? Now when I say food grain, that includes the cereals like rice, wheat, and other cereals. This combined, and this is in crore tons. If you look at it, India did a very good thing in terms of increasing the production of food grain over the years. In fact, government says doubling the income They also focus on more on horticulture, more on fishing, more on the aquaculture, more on the dairy and so on and so forth to increase the income of the farmers. But food grain production has done reasonably well over the years. I think that's a lot of kudos should go to the government proactive policy to ensure that we have a better food grain production. And due to that, India has been self-sufficient in terms of food production, at least for food grain, and we are the exporter of food grain. But that's on the food grain side. But if you look at some of the oilseed production also, I think India did extremely well. Groundnut, which was, I'm just put in a scale of 100, which was in FY 2011, it was 100, it has gone to 124. Rapeseed and mustard has gone to 153, and soyabean has gone to 118. I think there is a scope for soyabean to go up, but that's a oilseed production. Why these are very critical? Because this does help us to understand what could be the food inflation in the economy. If you look at the commercial crops like coffee, cotton, jute, sugarcane and tea, this is one product I want everyone to focus on is on sugarcane. In FY 2011, if it was 100 and if it indexed to 100, it has gone to 144. The reason is very simple. State government is increasing the SAP. Government ethanol blending program is definitely encouraging more and more sugar production. If you look at the tea also has gone up from 100 to 142, followed by coffee. Cotton has been almost at the stagnant, and jute and mestra has actually declined. I think that's not the focus area, but that's what has happened. Now the question comes. First thing, should you invest in the IPO? Should you apply for the IPO? And assume that you have applied at the IPO and you have been allotted shares also. Should you sell immediately on listing, or you can wait for the post-listing gains also? This is data we have taken for 2023. What we realize, one should apply for IPO. 25 out of 30 as listed at the premium. In 23, not necessarily about same 25, out of 30 have gone further up from the listing price. So my advice would be, do not be in a rush to exit on listing. If you have been allotted shares in the IPO, you can expect further rise in the share price post listing also. So the major news before this one, IBA reported external debt to GDP which has come down to 18.6% versus 18.8% of March 2023. Government of India is looking at 60,000 crore house loan interest subsidy to boost the housing demand. Small cap did well, pharma did well, PSU public sector did well last week, and FI till now divested or outflow of 15,000 crore in the month of September. Both Sensex and Nifty close in the red for the week, but mid and small cap close in the green. If you remember, when somewhere in September first week or maybe second week, there was a panic selling in mid and small cap. Small cap index went down by 4%. I came in front of you and told you not to get panic. The valuations, we don't see a froth in the mid and small cap that you should be worried about. And since then, mid cap and small cap has outperform the large cap. And this week also is not an exception. While mid and large cap declined by almost 0.3 to 0.2, mid and small cap reported a gain of 1.25 point or so. With this, let's open the floor for question answer. Yes. What is the trend for metal, infrastructure and technology sector? So Datta sir, we believe metal should do well. Infra, as we presented last week, the road construction seems to have slowed down. That's the highway construction. but the work on metro and everything is doing extremely well. Even port construction is happening well. So it's a little, if you happen to, and I was listening to Sundaram Finance, the CEO, and he was saying that demand-related infrastructure continues to be very well. So I think that's also a positive trend. And technology also we believe should do well. Even though despite Accenture not giving a very healthy picture, we believe that it should do well. If you ask me in our PMS, we have good exposure to the IT software as a sector. Chennai rental, Sunil sir, have been learning a lot from you and Market Bro, although not following exactly, but helps me a lot, particularly through the thought process and the analysis. Thanks a lot, sir, for your compliment. First, my question is, if money is moving from other states or saving account to market, isn't that negative, as those could have been used by bank to lend corporate individual to business, other assets or saving account to market? Isn't that negative, as those could have been used to? So, sir, you are right, sir. In life, everything cannot be the just one. What you are saying is that money that is coming to the equity market, whom does it benefit? The money that comes to the equity market helps actually the businesses. When the sale price goes up, that company will have the money, will have a tendency to do more capex and more other stuff. Am I right? So I don't think the money moving out from saving to the equity market is a bad. And there cannot be a situation, if everything has to go to the only business and corporate, तो फिर आप बोलेगे दूसरा कुछ होना ही नहीं चाहिए. And that's not the way. So it's not so simplistic, the equation. It should be fine balance between. So, okay, there is one more data. Okay, remind me next week I'll present this. So if you look at the loan against securities, I think we need to look at this way. Is that the loan against securities is rising, and which could be potentially dangerous? So I'll present the data. I look at the data. The data doesn't look very scary. On the contrary, it has been, I think it has grown, but it's not grown so much. It's very marginal growth. So I'll present that the next Friday. So if you ask me very frankly, money lying in the savings bank is making your bank rich. On the contrary, I would suggest everyone, if that money is idle, you don't need that money, please put to because when you invest in the equity, it goes to create wealth in the economy. Am I right? Because someone is buying, someone is selling, someone is making money, you will spend that money somewhere which will boost the consumption, whether it boosts the consumption. So have you ever seen when the stock market goes up, the activity in the economy goes up? I'll give a simple example, sir. Suppose if your portfolio goes up, equity portfolio goes up, there is a high probability, even though that profit is not realized, you'll be more liberal in terms of spending that money on shopping, in your luxury, in your leisure tour and so on and so forth. For some reason, if your equity market is down, your tendency to not to spend that money is high. You will start doing down trading. It's an emotion, it's a psychology. अगर आज मेरा पोर्टफोलियो अच्छा किया है, I may decide to go to a restaurant. And may I decide to go to a restaurant which could be what we call fine dining restaurant. But if my portfolio is not done well, either I may prefer to eat home, and if in case I decide to go eat outside, I will not go to the fine dine or 5-star restaurant. That's a more psychological kind of a stuff. So that can happen. So I think I do not agree with your statement that everything should go to the businesses. I think money coming to in the equity market does help to build up more industries and that gives you more employment, and I think it's needed. So more money in the equity market, in fact, on the contrary, thrive businesses. Indirectly, it does help businesses to do very well. Should we expect, Vinith is asking, soft results for IT companies? I think a lot of negatives are already there in the price. So I would not be surprised post-result the IT company share price goes up because a lot of negatives are already there in the so market behaves like that. Expectation अच्छा आएगा खराब आया और expectation खराब आया तो it goes down despite the company may have reported 25-30% growth also, but the company may report loss, but the loss is less than the what market was expecting. Still, the script can go up. So my sense is a lot of negatives are expected. So post result, IT company result, the IT company share price should go up. That's what my and what would you like to know the views? There are many IT stocks across the portfolio. Yes, as I said also in my PMS also, we have good exposure to the IT software sector. Why? Because we believe IT sector should do well. So if you look at the risk versus reward in the IT software, I think is in the favor of reward. Okay, Anshul, hi sir, thanks for being a retail investor for ICAS. If any company does not do any investment in a Concall, then how can one read about the company? Very simple, sir. Read the annual report of the company. Not only for 1 year, read for last couple of years. Look at the company's website. How friendly they have been in terms of presentation and other stuff. If the management has given any media interview, go through that. And what I will always request, look at the honesty which they've stated in the annual report. And if you read for last couple of years annual report, you will get a fair idea what management stated previous years and whether that has happened in the next year or subsequent next years or not. If you think management has been able to do that, I would feel comfortable with that. And second thing, disclosure. If the management has been good enough to disclose information, so I'll give a very classical example. Of course, of late I have not been able to read, but I go back to years like 98, 99 and so forth. And it was delight to read Infosys annual report. The amount of information they used to give in this is absolute delight. Okay. And the way they would give that information was in a very detailed manner. You enjoy reading that annual report. The same way, if that company is not doing Concall, nothing wrong with that. There are many companies don't do it. Okay, maybe whatever reason maybe. But if the management is very good in terms of giving information in annual report, then do that. And that's what I would look at it. That's the way you should basically build a case for or against that company. And don't read only 1 year, read last couple of years, because that you realize whether management, what they're stating in the annual report, is it coming true or not. Arif and Mohit is asking, please share your view on chemical. We believe a lot of negatives are there in the price. See, today one particular company declined substantially because the MD quit. There's nothing to do with the sector as such. Am I right? So the risk reward, as I speak to you, is in the favor of chemical. Whether that risk reward playing out in reward next month, after 2 months or 1 quarter, but definitely. So I would request you to increase allocation to chemical companies at this point of time. And if you have patience for next 6 to 9 months, you will reap rich rewards. Rohan, what is your view on the hospital sector due to increase in Nipah virus in Kerala? So I'm not very sure Nipah virus will resume. So, okay. So, first thing, the cause and effect. So first let me try to understand the cause and explain you cause and effect. Because of Nipah virus, will hospital sector will do well? The answer is no. Will hospital sector will do well in terms of price appreciation? The answer is yes. I think if you look at this complete sector, is looking a lot of consolidation. A lot of private equity players are coming. The demand for the hospital sector is increasing. If you look at the revenue per room, is on the rise. More and more people are going for the Mediclaim, and if the more and more people go for Mediclaim, probably is very high that they would go with the network which has been part of the Mediclaim and so on and so forth. So demand outlook. Second thing, the medical tourism, that's another factor. That's and number 3, I think people are more now health conscious post-COVID. So kuch bhi hota hai, the people want to take a doctor's opinion and then basically if required get admitted to the hospital. So overall view on the hospital sector looks very encouraging. Not because of Nipah. I must clarify that also. Having said that, I must also clearly tell you that many of the hospital companies are commanding a very rich valuations. So it's not that they are available at cheap valuation, but despite they are available at a very rich valuations, still there is a scope for an capital appreciation. Venugopal, what is the current AUM of the Infinite PMS? Thanks, sir. So Venugopalji, we don't discuss that thing in the public forum. Today is the last day of what we call month, September. And this will get updated in next 7 days or 8 days to the SEBI, because each and every PMS house has to give that numbers to the SEBI. So my request to you, in next 7 to 10 days, you please go to the SEBI's website and you will get the data both for power as well as soul. Only thing I want to tell you is that today the response is so overwhelming to us that even our custodian is saying that we have not seen this kind of a flow of forms coming to us, and they are also not able to manage. So touch wood, with your love and blessings, we are doing extremely well in our PMS. Not only in terms of performance, but also in terms of the new inflow coming in. In fact, today, if we have an X amount today in our PMS, 2x amount is still, we are not able to insert in the system. We are not started because there is a lot of, sometimes the signature mismatch, sometimes there is a rejections from the customer, they need some more information, and that is taking a lot of time and energy, that's the thing. But we would be one of the fastest growing PMS in the history of India without any distributor. And that numbers you will see in next couple of months, you will realize that how fast we have grown. But that number would be available as of September in next 10 to 15 days on the SEBI's website. Archit, please let us know, we should buy a small cap now or we should wait and only when large cap now. So don't remove this question. Let me answer one by one. Okay, let us know that what you feel active investors perform better over passive buy and hold investor over 5 years. And then lastly, want to understand from you, if investor territory stays high, why is gold coming down? Okay, so let me answer each one step by step. Archit ji, if you want to invest for 3 to 5 years, mid and small cap. So remind me, Amil, one more, like next week also I'll present you how mid and small cap over the longer period of time is always outperform the large cap. So, and our view on the mid and small cap continues to remain positive. If you remember, we said that even the many experts were suggesting get out of mid and small cap, we said don't get out, get out in a panic. Yes, some mid and small cap can correct, and which have corrected. But overall, I don't think there is a huge correction, that there is no froth in the mid and small cap that it will come off. So if you have a money for 3 to 5 years, please invest in mid and small cap and allocate higher to mid and not large cap, provided you can stomach the volatility, because mid and small cap by nature are more volatile as compared to large cap. If you ask me, I would allocate more to the mid and small cap in my overall portfolio versus large cap. Second question, active versus passive. See, if you're happy over a period of 5 years, if your fund manager is smart, he will generate alpha. If you want to do on your own, probability is very high that you will underperform the benchmark. Then I would suggest go for passive. Why? Because your human emotions will come up, your stock selection will be wrong, your assets allocation will be wrong, and overall you will not make money. But if your fund manager is smart, I would always prefer active as versus passive. And want to know, if interest rate stays high, why the gold is coming down? See, gold is coming down because also of the rate of interest in the Fed. Okay, you have a choice. Gold doesn't earn any income, but the treasury does interest income. So normally when the yield is high, the gold tends to move down. That's what I have observed. And last couple of years when the crypto also competed very badly with gold, people those who used to invest in gold were investing in crypto and so on and so forth. But from this point of view, we do believe so. Oh no, okay. You should never invest in gold and silver because. So I'm at a very classic, very nice. Let me give you a nice conversation I had other day. Last Saturday, I went out for a buffet, Michelin star. I hope you people understand Michelin star. They are one of the finest chefs around the world, and those chefs only get that Michelin. It's like more of an Oscar award in the film industry. And I went for a Michelin star chef buffet with my family last Saturday. It was a dinner. I happened to meet one gentleman who was from the diamond industry. And we had a very interesting conversation. And this was not, because it was sit-down buffet. In Michelin star, it's a sit-down. It's not a buffet where you go to and fetch it. But before, there was a meet and greet kind of stuff where there was cocktail was there. I don't drink, but there was a mocktail, and then there were some starters, which is waiters were roaming on. And this gentleman happened to meet him through a common friend. And I asked him about the diamond. He's from the diamond. 90% is basically exports. तो मैं उसको पूछा कि क्या लगता है डायमंड. तो सी सुनील भाई, द डायमंड ज्वेलरी व्हेन यू बाय, यू शुड नेवर थिंक फ्रॉम द एप्रिसिएशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. उसने एक एग्जांपल दिया है कि जब आप शादी का 10 लाख का लहंगा लेते हो जो एक ही बार पहनने वाले हो लाइफ में, कभी उसका रीसेल वैल्यू देखते हो क्या, सोचते हो क्या? सो व्हेन यू बाय डायमंड ज्वेलरी, you should never think that what is the resale value, because you're buying and you're self-consumption. तो देखो मत. But if you're buying a 3 carat and 5 carat diamond, then it's an investment value. Then you should buy purely because does it create a capital appreciation. Now why am I saying so with the gold and silver? There's a context to it. You should buy gold and silver as a part of your portfolio, as a part of the assets allocation strategy. Not because it's moving up or moving down, because it brings in a lot of stability to the portfolio. That's why I always say, irrespective of the view on the gold and silver price movement, you should have 10 to 15% in gold and silver. And that's how you should look at it. So I hope you got the answer right. Right now, Fed rate of interest is high, which basically acts as a counterproductive for the gold. I have not paid a single rupee to any credit card by giving a standard instruction to deduct 100% every month. I always gain some money back or points CC. So this should be another way of looking. I agree with you, sir. Subhasis Biswas, sir. Provided you have a bank balance. I also have a standing instruction on my credit card. On the day due date, it will get deducted automatically. The problem happens, sir, that even if you give a standing instruction, बैंक में पैसा होना चाहिए वो credit card को देने के लिए ना. So the problem happens is when you don't have the money and you spend money on credit card on the assumptions that पैसा आ जाएगा, or some people because go for the revolving credit kind of a 5% दिया, balance 95, that's where the problem happens. In most of the cases I've seen the people, those who are spending, the moment you get a feeling of stress when people start spending on credit card for the necessity. You should spend your credit card only if you're buying some luxury items. Of course, you earn interest on that and so on, so that's a good thing. But you do not spend money in anticipation now that I'll earn tomorrow and hence let me spend money now. If the moment you do that with credit card, you will be in a trap. That's what you should understand, Subhasis Biswas, sir. But I fully buy your point. And that's why I said, use that. So when I buy a jewelry, I buy it through credit card. I'll give you my practical example. I buy jewelry. Why? Because credit card se purchase. It's not that I don't have the money in my bank account. I do have money in my bank account, and yet I buy because एक साथ वो हो जाएगा. Second thing, it will go in a system. My record में बन जाएगा. So tomorrow in the income tax also, if I have to showcase it, the credit card statement would be there with me, which will tell me that so and so date I bought gold or jewelry on so and so date, so much quantity, so much gram, and so on and so forth. It helps me to maintain the record also. and of course you earn points. But I will never spend money through credit card just to earn points, because that's another way, wrong way to spend money on the credit card. I hope that makes it clear. Which company will give good results in terms of sales number and top line growth? So, many times we have seen the company may do very well, but the script comes down. I believe your objective is that which sectors can make money irrespective of numbers, growth hai kya nahi hai. As I was explaining about the IT software, even if there is no growth, the script can still give you capital because it will be better than what market consensus estimates. So my sense is that the chemical should reasonably do well, farmers should do well, the defense companies should do well, railway related companies should do well. These are the sectors I believe should do reasonably well, not only in terms of top line, bottom line, but even post result, the price appreciation. Impact on rising crude. Joydeep Kar sir, so I was listening to some of the paint companies interview to the business channel. I think they are saying that till now there is not a situation. It has become little grave in terms of the input cost going up, because they do have an inventory in their books. So that's one. But I have a different worry. So it's not, worry is not because of rising crude oil prices. My worry comes from the competition. We had 3-4 players previously: Asian Paints, Berger, Kansai, and then ExxonMobil. Then we saw Pidilite coming in. We saw Astral coming in. JSW wants to be aggressive. Grasim is going to come very soon. Now, what does this mean? More and more people are going to chase the same customer. Now, two things can happen. You either retain the market share by reducing the price, or you let it go the market share, but you maintain the margin. In both the cases, investors are not going to be happy. So my sense is that paint companies have done extremely well in terms of wealth creation. Going forward, I doubt that they will be able to sustain that kind of a wealth creation story. So it's nothing to do with the crude. I must clarify here. I think if you look at the structurally, this industry is now going to have a lot of competitive pressure, and when the competitive pressure builds in, it does create a problem to your ROE, your margin, your rate of growth, and then the kind of premium that you are commanding and enjoying, that will start coming down. So they may underperform significantly. That's my personal opinion, paint companies. So should we be taking so much exposure to paint companies based on the historical returns? My answer is no. Which top players will benefit from rising credit card debt? Of course, there are, I don't talk stocks, even there's very listed company which deals only to credit card. Some of the banks will get benefits. I think everyone must also understand there is a downside to is that delinquency ratio. How much there's a default on the credit card, and if that goes up, the what looks positive may turn out to be the negative. So that's what you should be very, very careful, Ankurji. Some of the banks' credit card is not such a big picture, big that it's going to change the needle of that business significantly for the company. And many of these banks have gone on the record saying they are issuing the credit card only to the existing customers and not to the new customers. Gaurav, what is the view on API, especially benefits? I think they should do well. That's what and pharma we are extremely bullish on. So Gauravji, we will remain invested in the pharma. I would recommend that increase allocation to the pharma. We said that we started in beginning of 2023 also. that pharma should do well. It's done extremely well. Today also pharma companies did extremely well. And we maintain that this will do well. With this, that will be the last question that we will take today. I know you will have more questions, but we'll again take it up in our next webinar. Tuesday, my colleague Karan would be in front of you with the latest addition to the Mojo stocks. Wednesday, I'll be in front of you with the equity outlook for the next month. Thursday, I'll be in front of our customer with PMS performance report for the month of September. And on again Friday, I'll be with the trend analysis in front of you. And of course, as I promised you a couple of trend analysis which I discussed with you, I will make it a part of that presentation. With this, thanks a lot everyone taking time out and attending this webinar. Thanks for asking a very interesting and very intelligent question. I thoroughly enjoyed answering them. Enjoy a long weekend. And I think the Swachhta Abhiyan that Government of India wants to initiate, I would request everyone to please participate in that. With this, thanks a lot. Good night. Have a great weekend.